Good morning, everyone. So I used to say that Southerners were #1 when it comes to hospitality and being embracing. I'm going to have to rethink that this morning. Thank you. So I want to talk to you a bit about gatekeepers and power structures. Two unsimilar, you would say, events took place during our lifetimes that I think if you really dig deep, you will see that they have something important in common. Do you remember the woman in the blue bra in Tahrir Square in Egypt during the Arab Spring? This bold woman went out into that square and confronted decades and decades, all of her life, this power structure which inhibited her, which suppressed her, which depressed her. But she stood strong. She went out there and protested. And for her boldness, for that interaction, for that act, she was brutalized and humiliated by the Egyptian military. Now, she wasn't just beaten, no. She wasn't just spoken to negatively, no. What they did was stripped her of her top and exposed a blue bra. Now, in that culture, that type of exposure is the end of your positive existence. It is meant to embarrass. It is meant to depress. It is meant to shame. Now, this morning, I want to compare that to what was done on December 17th of 2017. What the FCC did was to depress, was to strip away the freedoms of the most enabling platform, the most equalizing platform of our time. Now, you may say, and others have said, that this was a solution in search of a problem when the FCC instituted rules back in December of 2015, when we said these net neutrality principles are ones in which we should uphold. We think that the open internet, that net neutrality principles are ones in which we live by. We think we should put consumers first. And why do we say that? I don't have to sell this audience on what is important. I don't have to tell you that, but for an open internet, the greatest movements in modern history, Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, we would never hear about them. Ferguson, Missouri, was ignored by the local press. They did not think that was important. All of the things that have been happening for decades in that community, ignored, but a hashtag and a presence over the internet enabled that story to be told. The suffering of those people in Missouri were no longer buried on the back pages of anyone's headline. And the Me Too movement, that movement which exposed lifetimes of suffering, often in silence, of individuals who, when they go to work, who, when they try to make a way, that they wanted to do so without being harassed, without being compromised, without being abused. Those stories weren't told en masse because gatekeepers and the power structure made sure that they were suppressed. But those hashtags started trending over a platform that the previous administration said you should be in control, not those gatekeepers. That you should be the one who dictates your presence online, that you should be the one, not industry, not billion-dollar public, private. Those internet service providers should not be the one that dictate your experience. We said it should be in your hands. So I ask you today, what color undergarments are you wearing? When we talk about the most enabling platform of the time, what color are you wearing? Back in 2005, August of 2005, a then Republican-led FCC did something remarkable. It laid out a series of internet principles that it said we should govern ourselves by. And this is a Republican-led FCC. They said, you should have access over the content of your choice as long as it's lawful. It said you should be able to run the applications and services of your choice as long as it's not harmful to the internet, or as long as it's compliant when it comes to the authorities of the day. It said that you should have the ability to use that legal device, that device of your choice, as long as it's not harmful to the network. And here's the sticker. It said you should be able to take advantage of all of this in a competitive ecosystem where network providers, application providers, service providers, and content service providers should offer you the services of your choice, and all of that should be unfettered. A Republican-led FCC, but as I mentioned, and you know, in December, another Republican-led FCC turned its back on those principles. So what's next? What do we do? What do we have the power to do? The freedoms that we have today, the freedoms that we have to access the information services and applications of our choice over the most enabling platform of our time, we cannot take that for granted. We cannot make the assumption that the freedoms will always be there. We cannot assume that because what we have today will be there for tomorrow. We cannot make the assumption. So I ask you once again, when it comes to a platform that allows you to have your own business without paying rent, that will allow you to speak to others in your communities so you can support each other. If I say that there is a platform that's the most equalizing and empowering of our lifetime, what would you do to keep it? That's the question that's in front of us today. That's the challenge that we have today. This platform that has launched movements, that has allowed us to embrace each other, that does not judge us because of the color of our skin or who we love. That platform, I ask you, is it worth fighting for? And I ask you, what color undergarments do you wear? And what color or shade of blue will you embrace for a free and open internet, for a platform that will allow you to be and to speak and to do whatever it is you are destined to do? What color do you wear? Thank you.